وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أجمعين. We begin in the name of the Divine, the All-Merciful, the Especially Merciful, and sending divine favor on our Master Muhammad and his family and his companions, all of them. Those situations or times when you may feel this natural affinity or this natural attraction to someone as if you've known them in a past life. You've heard that saying before. Or when you don't feel that and the opposite is true and you really just don't like them or feel the vibe. Or you feel it and then it disappears or it goes opposite and you just really want to get out of a certain relationship, be it spiritual, be it familial, even in terms of romantic relationships, marriage, or courting. Typically we don't hear about soul ties in Quran and prophetic tradition. And that's what we're talking about. Soulmates are a type of soul tie. And so just to recap, last time we talked about the basis for that in many really major faith traditions and philosophies, and then we had one word that was cited. You can go back to the first video, Soulmates in the Quran and prophetic tradition, to view that discussion. The word that lays the groundwork that you would hear from, the beginning sermons from China all the way to here in Phoenix. However, today we're going to talk more about the history behind soulmates in Quran and prophetic tradition and how to break soul ties based on that same faith tradition and spiritual heritage. So, soul ties trace back to a meta-historical day known as the Day of Alestu. In the Quran, God gathered the children of Adam, and he gave us a pact, a very weighty covenant, that even the mountains, God tells us, would not take. The divine asked, Alestu bi rabbikum, am I not your Lord's sustainer? And we replied, Bala shahidna, every single soul. And some replied like that immediately. Others, they hesitated just ever so slightly, and some hesitated more, and some totally hesitated and were very unwilling. And that is the soul tie, the number one soul tie we have, and reflects in this life our relationship with the Creator. This also reflects our relationship with believers, how close or far we are from them. And granted, somebody can be a disbeliever all their life and then at the very last minute flip their life around, and vice versa. They can be doing all the things and the last minute, fall off. So, but in general, our soul ties go back to this day, so that believers are like this, generally more close, and those who are far apart on that day will also be far apart in this life, right? Now, this goes alongside the prophetic tradition, which states al-arwah hujurul mujannada. The souls are like aligned soldiers. Those who are closer on that day will be closer in this life, right? Now, you may ask, this heavy covenant that even the mountains would not take, that really is a heavy burden based on God's love for us, the divine's favor on us as the children of Adam or humans. You may not necessarily want with certain people this. With God, it's a different story, but certain people, it may manifest in a way that is, for instance, you may find a soul tie with somebody who's abusive, or I'll give an example of spiritual ties. You may have, Bayah is the name for formal spiritual soul ties in Islam. And this goes back to a pledge of fealty or allegiance that people they took with the Prophet, God bless his soul and grant him peace, under the tree. And Allah talks about that in the Quran as well. And so God witnesses these covenants, and they're very heavy as well. Now, in the event you want to break them, which is not recommended, only because everything is passing, and it is often a situation inside where we have to release an unnecessary need for proof or manifestation or specific outcomes with certain family members or, spiritual leaders or, partners. So, we can get so attached and so controlling. We want to break and make these ties independent of God's will, where if something's meant to be, it will be. If it's not meant to be, it will not be. However, it's important to know what's available to us. And this is something that that has been mentioned about breaking soul ties, breaking bayah, is to, one, have the intention. You make the intent that this is something very clearly that I want to break off. I want to cut it off. I want to stop it. Okay? So you have this intent. Maybe it's, God forbid, a lust for something or someone. You make that intent. Now, you don't have to necessarily state that intent, but it helps if you write a letter, if you outline it, what you intend as far as cutting ties. And then you do the fast of bayah. So for 3 days, you fast with that intent, and Creator willing, khair inshallah, you've cut it. And you have to be firm in that intent for this to go through. However, the point is to really be preventative from the beginning. And we've said this before, how prevention is the best medicine, brothers and sisters. So you have to be selective. We, speaking to myself as well, have to be selective with who we are emotionally opening to, emotionally intimate with, intimacy. Who you are allowing in your inner circle. Number one being your core, your heart, right? And trusting your gut in these connections or lack thereof. And again, everything is passing. This, whatever you may be going through, or, struggles, relationships-wise, is often passing. So again, it's not recommended to break these soul ties. But just know that they have a basis, and also the lack thereof. There is a meta-historical day in the Islamic faith tradition that is the basis for this. There is more. We will, Creator willing, inshallah, get to the final part, likely on the types of soulmates. Let me know if there's a specific type you'd like me to focus on, and or just experience of soulmates, as well as the primary longing for this unity that soulmates embody. Until then, please take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.